trying out an auto-tune on your modern metal guitar DIs. This sounds bloody ridiculous, I know, I had this exact perception myself, but then I just experimented with this as a utility approach to fix my guitar tuning, and I got some very unexpected results, which I really want to share with you in this video here. So, let's do it! It's very interesting. Can you hear that the guitars become less harsh and tonally a little bit more rich? Hey, I'm Dr. Mike Trubetskov, and I'm here to bring valuable information on modern metal recording, production and mixing. So mate, please like and subscribe to not miss out valuable content. Let's go! You may be wondering, why thinking about using auto-tune on guitar DIs in the first place? The obvious reason is you wanna pitch correct your DIs. Obviously, you have to do it before the amp, so basically right away on the DI itself, with auto-tune being the first in the chain. You can try pitch shifting your guitars with auto-tune, and I tried that and I got some mixed results in the past. However, you can try going beyond what's a common norm in productions. And this concept of processing the DI before the amp, before the distortion, in my opinion, has been largely pioneered by Buster Oderholm, who has innovated modern metal so much, and I'm very inspired by Buster's approaches. Using auto-tune on guitar DI goes along with EQing the DI before the amp and pitch shifting the DI before the amp. And one of the results that you may be getting is a slight shift in your tone. Auto-tune itself, in auto mode, can provide you with a more polished sort of tone. You can notice it in the vocals, they start to sound sort of smoother, and auto-tune does introduce some pitching artifacts which may or may not suit your production. However, as you know, pitch shifters do introduce a lot of distortion and digital artifacts as well, so that actually has become a part of the modern metal guitar riffage sound. And here I would like to show you what auto-tune can do and provide you with in terms of the tonal quality of the sound. Let's see in detail. So, I'm working on this cinematic style production where I decided to add low-tuned guitars and breakdowns, which I think is really cool, but I'm not the best modern metal guitarist as of yet. I'm still learning. String skipping and string jumping may make a challenge for me, and particularly with reaching those high notes in perfect pitch. That has been a challenge that I noticed, and I'm currently working on improving this. So this time I was lazy, and instead of trying to punch in those notes perfectly, I tried to use auto-tune to correct that. So in this production here we have a lot of layers, right? Different drums, different cinematic orchestration, synthesizers, and we got these layers of the guitars. These are just the DIs, and I'm using Clairvoyant for one layer and Death Western, this plugin, for another layer. And let's take a listen of how this sounds without auto-tune first. Makes me damn too excited. Now with auto-tune. Isn't this interesting? I'm noticing two things here. First thing, the upper notes that sounded off-pitch in some instances become smoother. But not only that, the whole tone of the guitar tracks becomes smoother, sticks out less to you as a listener, and becomes more contained in certain way. Maybe there is a bit of a blur coming out from that pitch shifting by autotune. The waving of that pitch may create some phasing very slightly that brings the guitars, pulls them a bit back into the mix. Let's listen to the guitars in isolation. Now, first without the autotune. And now with. I can notice that in some instances autotune didn't correct the pitch properly, so for your final production you may want to drop it in some cases and just automate the bypass of autotune so that it doesn't affect certain parts. But otherwise, the tone became a little smoother and a little more contained, as I described before. So this is a somewhat accidental finding that I've had in this production here that I really wanted to share with you, because I find this an exciting method that you could use to achieve this type of result. Let's look into a different production and process the DIs as well, which I haven't done before. For this second example, let's look into my cover for Spirit Box. And currently we have the guitar in solo, and I'm inserting the autotune, so I would like to show you the procedure of setting this out correctly. So in this instance, autotune did pick up the notes correctly. However, you may experience an issue where it doesn't. And in this case, you may want to experiment with a couple of things here. The input type, you could try setting out as an instrument or bass instrument, preferably for lower tunings. Let's try that. See that the detector became more responsive. That's because we chose the correct input type. You may experiment with the key, obviously, the way you want to tune your guitars into, and the tracking is also an interesting parameter here. Let's experiment with that one too. You can see that this almost reacts as an attack and release timings for a compressor, with tracking at 5 creating a choppier sound, and with tracking at somewhere around 80 to 90 creating a smoother, rounder tone. Depending on what you're going for, you could select the appropriate type. Now you can try experimenting with the retune speed as well. For smooth correction or for aggressive correction, almost similar to how pop and rap singers correct their vocals. So you may experiment with that kind of effect for your guitars as well before the DI, and I believe that this is something that could sound very cool. Let's set it out properly for this project though. I can straight away hear the extra smoothness that autotune adds to the guitars. Let's compare it in the mix now. First without. Now with. Very interesting. Can you hear that the guitars become less harsh and tonally a little bit more rich, sort of in a digital territory, sort of sonic style in the mids. That's what I can hear, and I quite like this result actually. I specifically let audio run through the chugs because I thought that chugs are not going to be properly processed by the autotune, but they were, and the tone was cool. So if you want to use autotune as a tone correcting tool to achieve extra smoothness for your modern metal guitars, this is a possible way to go. So this is it for applying autotune for your modern metal guitar DIs. I'm very excited to share this technique with you. This came to me as an accident, and a very surprisingly cool accident, because I think that the results are interesting. And I hope that you can experiment with your productions, with your DIs, process them similarly, and let me know in the comments what you achieve. I'm excited to share this with you, and I hope that you like this idea. And until next time, rock on!